This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Wednesday, August 12th. This is Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, Voice of America is taking every necessary precaution to safeguard its employees. So our broadcast will look a little different today and in the near future as we, out of an abundance of caution, reduce our staffing at VOA headquarters here in Washington. We're working to help keep you informed about what's going on, and we appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. Zimbabwe's white farmers whose land was redistributed during the Robert Mugabe era are welcoming a $3.5 billion government compensation plan. President Emmerson Mnangagwa hopes the agreement will encourage foreign investment into Zimbabwe's imploding economy. But as Columbus Mavhunga reports from Harare, questions remain on how the government will raise the funds.
Thousands of farms were taken over during the Robert Mugabe era, mostly from white farmers, and redistributed to black farmers. The July reparation deal is for property taken on the land, not the land itself, and amounts to $3.5 billion. Even though Zimbabwe does not have the funds, the Zimbabwe Commercial Farmers Union is hopeful.
Given that the average age of farmers when they lost their properties was about 55 and it's nearly 20 years on, you can see that many are no longer able to work, and so they've exhausted their resources. So there will be a relief to them that there's finally possibility of closure.
The union represented 4,500 white farmers forced off their land during reforms that were meant to correct colonial-era land issues. But when the land was redistributed, farm production plunged, sending Zimbabwe's economy into a tailspin from which it has never recovered. Critics say the $3.5 billion deal, which took years to negotiate, will only increase the country's debt.
So it's not just a question of, do we fit into the global capital narrative or the neoliberal free markets global economic framework and re-engage private capital that way, which is what government essentially is saying to the world, that it respects private property and may not have that much of an interest anymore in social and economic justice.
Zimbabwe hopes the deal will bring back foreign investment that fled the country when the properties were seized.
You can't really say that the issue of dealing with the farmers, which has been outstanding for 20 years, shows that we have no priorities. Actually, it is one of the priorities. It's very important that the issue should be resolved. It's also an issue in a sense that triggered the kind of negative sentiments that we've seen from some of the global partners. That needs to be resolved. It's not a normal situation.
Zimbabwe plans to raise the compensation for white farmers through international donors and a long-term bond with the aim of completing payouts in 5 years. Finance Minister Mutuli Ncube says if they can't raise the reparation money in time, the government will simply reschedule the payments. The question is, if that happens, will foreign investors feel confident enough in Zimbabwe's government to come back? Columbus Mavhunga for VOA News, Harare.
This year, over 4,000 migrants seeking asylum, mostly from Africa and the Middle East, have attempted the crossing from France to Britain in overcrowded dinghies or makeshift boats, including several hundred in the past few days. As Henry Ridgwell reports, Britain wants to return the migrants to Europe, but its exit from the European Union could make it much harder to shut down the route.
A voyage of some 35 kilometers across the busiest shipping lane in the world. In the past week, around 700 migrants have made the crossing, among them dozens of unaccompanied children. They travel in rubber dinghies. The most desperate use inflatable kayaks and paddleboards. The surge in arrivals is creating political waves. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has promised action, but provided little detail.
We need to stop them, working with the French, we need to stop them from getting across the channel. But number two, we need to look at the legal framework that we have, all the panoply of laws that an illegal immigrant has at his or her disposal that allow them to stay here.
In recent days, Britain has deployed naval vessels and spotter aircraft to the English Channel.
It's quite clear that we don't have a grip on our maritime border. It's unsafe, it's insecure, and there's illegal operations taking place on both sides of the channel and also in the channel itself.
But it's not clear what role they will play. Lawyers say forcibly pushing migrant boats away from British waters would break numerous maritime and international laws.
You can't just push people back and stop them from going any further and hope that they don't drown, because basically some people are going to drown, and that's just completely unacceptable. You can't tow them into French waters without the consent of the French.
Under international maritime laws, all vessels are obliged to aid those in distress at sea, including migrants. Deploying the Navy could have unintended consequences.
But if it was the British who were doing that, it would be back to a British shore, and that is exactly what the British government is seeking to avoid.
Under European Union law, migrants are meant to claim asylum in the first EU country where they arrive, and Britain has deported hundreds of migrants back to European neighbours. But when Britain exits the Brexit transition period at the end of the year, that law no longer applies.
You cannot just send people back to a country that won't take them back.
The British government says the migrant route across the Channel must be shut down to prevent tragedy at sea. Politically, these are potent images for a government that pledged to take back control of its borders after Brexit. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
Thousands of people took to the streets of Mali's rainy capital Bamako on Tuesday, renewing calls for President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta to step down, despite international mediation efforts to resolve a political crisis. Protests led by an opposition coalition called M5RFP have raged since June, caused by contested local elections and perceived government corruption and incompetence. Tensions escalated in July when police shot dead at least 11 demonstrators. Mali has struggled to regain stability since 2012, when ethnic Tuareg rebels and loosely aligned jihadists seized the northern two-thirds of the country, leading former colonial power France to intervene to temporarily beat them back. Attacks have increased in recent months as militants seek to extend their reach, stoking ethnic tensions around central Mali. Liberian Vice President Jewel Howard Taylor was flown to Ghana Tuesday to seek additional medical care for respiratory complications, according to Rodney C., publisher of Liberia's Front Page Africa newspaper, who quotes the Vice President's office as saying she was flown to Ghana to seek further medical attention. The Vice President's office says Taylor was initially admitted last Friday to the Aspen Medical Facility in Monrovia for breathing complications. Her office says she is now responding positively to treatment and that her health has stabilized. Meanwhile, President George Weah has indefinitely suspended Dr. Masoka Fala, Director General of the National Public Health Institute of Liberia, for what the president is calling a breach in health and administrative protocols which guide the issuance of COVID-19 results by the country's health institute. The COVID-19 pandemic is causing the Angolan government to postpone municipal elections that was scheduled to take place by the end of this year, according to independent journalist Mario Paiva. Meanwhile, Angolan billionaire Isabel dos Santos, the daughter of the late longtime president Jose Eduardo dos Santos, has announced that she is leaving her position as a member of the board of directors of the telecommunications giant Unitel. Dos Santos has been entangled in a financial scandal with the new government of President João Lourenço for her projected wealth of more than $2 billion acquired from holdings in various companies, including Angola state-owned oil company Sonangol. Dos Santos has denied any wrongdoing. Texas ranks third in the number of COVID-19 cases in the U.S., while most of the state is fighting the disease. One county in northwest Texas so far has no cases among its residents, but life is still not completely normal there. VOA's Elizabeth Lee has the story.
In Borden County, Texas, there are no doctors or grocery stores. The county's population is fewer than 700 people, and 40% of them live in the town of Gale.
If you're driving through here, if you blink, you'll miss it.
Borden County stands out in Texas as a place where residents do not have COVID-19.
Everyone is definitely cautious. Even though we are COVID-free, we want to stay COVID-free, and that adds another layer of cautiousness.
Set them equal to
0.
High school student Austin Buchanan's math teacher, who also happens to be his dad, says there is a reason that this community is COVID-free. Living socially distant from each other is everyday life in this rural community.
It's kind of our norm here. You know, we are isolated. We weren't in town every day. We weren't around lots of people every day. So, you know, it's kind of some people think it's a burden, and lately it's been a blessing.
But Austin is anxious about what the new school year will be like, as school officials are developing a plan in an ever-changing situation.
Being a senior and this being my final year of high school, I want everything to be the way it's supposed to be, and COVID has definitely affected that.
That's because the counties surrounding Borden County have had confirmed cases of COVID-19. If schools outside Borden County decide to go virtual, it's unclear what that will mean to team athletics. Austin is participating in every sport offered. Head of county government Ross Sharp says it may be just a matter of time before COVID-19 enters Borden County.
That's probably one of the major areas of concern for me is school starting up. At least half of our student body comes from out of county.
The risk of contracting the coronavirus is also in the back of Austin's mind.
You know, we don't have a grocery store here, so to go and get our groceries, we have to drive 30 miles to the nearest town, and we have to deal with the cases there as well.
We try to do our best not to get exposed and bring it here. You know, we wear masks when we're in other communities. It's a relief. I mean, it is, knowing that we haven't had a positive case here. It's been nice not having that worry, and hopefully we can stay that way.
But Austin is not as optimistic, knowing that Texas is trying to open up.
You know, people are starting to travel again, and we're trying to get back into our normal routines, and I think eventually something has to happen. You know, it's one of those things that you can only slow it down.
He says he can only do his part to stay safe and hope he'll see his friends in person for one more year before leaving Borden County for college. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News.
Gracefully spinning among a group of dancers clad in pink, 11-year-old Anthony Mesoma Madu stands out in black leggings, a white turtleneck, and poised beyond his years. His ballet has captivated the hearts of millions. Lauren Anthony reports.
Anthony Mesoma Madu is challenging gender stereotypes in Nigeria, one pirouette at a time. The 11-year-old's parents had initially wanted him to become a priest, but instead he is pursuing his dream of becoming a ballet dancer with the poise and grace of a performer far beyond his years. A video of him dancing barefoot in the pouring rain drew in over 15 million viewers in a country where ballet is not yet widely accepted.
Ballet is my life, and I practice everywhere. And when I'm dancing, I feel as if I'm on top of the world. And anytime my mom sends me an errand, I dance ballet before I go to that place, and it makes me feel very, very happy. I so much love ballet.
He currently trains at the Leap of Dance Academy in Lagos, but his video caught the eye of the prestigious American Ballet Theatre, which arranged internet access for him to train virtually this summer. Next year, he will practice in the United States, thanks to a scholarship from Ballet Beyond Borders.
And when my friends see me dancing, they feel like, what is this boy doing? Is he doing a foreign dance? Instead of he should be doing a Nigerian dance, he's doing a foreign dance. And now I've won a grand prize to go to the US in the year 2021. And I'm very, very happy about that. I'll be in the plane, and this is what I'm waiting for. And ballet has done it for me.
Madu's internet fame also sparked a flood of donations to his dance school, which currently teaches its students for free. Leap of Dance founder Daniel Ajola Owaseni says he will use the money to promote ballet in Nigeria.
I saw the need to bring a form of art that shows discipline, dedication, and commitment. And these qualities makes up a very good ballet dancer. And students who are able to learn all of this can be able to transfer all of the discipline and dedication they've learned through ballet into other spheres of their lives.
The Academy was founded in 2017 to help kids who could not afford the luxury of ballet classes.
That was Lauren Anthony of Reuters reporting. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, how technology is influencing savings and investments among Nigerian youth. Stay with us. Welcome back to Africa 54. U.S. Democratic presumptive nominee Joe Biden has chosen Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate, making her the first Black woman and the first person of Indian descent to be selected for a presidential ticket by a major party. White House correspondent Patsy Widakuswara has the latest.
Could Kamala Harris be the next vice president of the United States? On Tuesday, presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden announced that he has selected Harris as his running mate in the November election, calling her a fearless fighter for the little guy and one of the country's finest public servants. Harris is the first Black woman, the first person of Indian descent, and only the fourth woman in history to be chosen for a presidential ticket by a major party. A senator from California and a former Democratic presidential candidate, Harris said she is honored to be chosen and that Joe Biden can unify the American people. Analysts say Harris is a safe pick that would help Biden with a key demographic, African American voters.
Joe Biden is probably running just a little bit behind where Hillary Clinton was running in 2016 among younger African American voters, particularly younger African American men. So one of the things that she may be doing on the campaign is really kind of laser-like focusing in on that community to see if they can get support rates back to where they were in 2016.
Minutes after Biden made the announcement, the Trump campaign released this attack ad.
Slow Joe and phony Kamala, perfect together, wrong for America.
She was probably nastier than even Pocahontas. to Joe Biden. She was very disrespectful to Joe Biden, and it's hard to pick somebody that's that disrespectful.
In the coming weeks, both the Trump and Biden campaigns will be competing to portray Harris to the American people.
There's still even about a third of Americans who would say that they don't have enough information to really form an opinion about Kamala Harris. But that's going to change pretty quickly in the coming days, and especially as we go into the Democratic convention. And her profile, even though she's already a U.S. senator, is going to increase pretty rapidly.
Biden and Harris's first appearance together is scheduled for Wednesday. Patsywida Kuswara, VOA News.
U.S. Vice President Mike Pence has weathered storms that have shaken the Trump White House, standing by the president through an impeachment trial and many cabinet reshuffles. He has served as an international envoy and taken a leading role in the COVID-19 response. Michael Sullivan spoke with two analysts about Pence's performance so far.
From the announcement that Mike Pence would be Trump's running mate, the former Indiana governor has been a cheerleader.
Donald Trump gets it, and he understands the American people.
Pence has played a backup role to Trump, says a historian of the vice presidency.
He's advised him. He's worked with Congress, been sort of a legislative liaison. He's taken diplomatic trips.
After the virus began sweeping through the nation in late January, Pence began serving as chair of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, sometimes fielding controversial policy proposals.
We think we can safely reopen schools. The risk to children is very low.
Vice presidents have not always had active roles, as Vice President Lyndon Johnson was overshadowed by President John Kennedy. But analysts say that has changed over the last few administrations.
The vice presidency, I think, really changed beginning with the Carter-Mondale administration, where the vice president became an across-the-board advisor and troubleshooter for the president. And that basic pattern has been followed by all of the presidents since then, with some variation.
Many saw Vice President Dick Cheney as the driving force behind President George W. Bush's foreign policy and national security.
I think it's pretty clear that Donald Trump didn't want a Dick Cheney as vice president. He didn't, you get the vice president that you want and assign him the task that you want. And Trump clearly didn't want someone who kind of wielded that kind of authority and he had to maybe share some billing with.
An evangelical Christian, Pence has helped to broaden Trump's appeal among religious conservatives. He has supported Trump's tightening of immigration policy and appointment of conservatives to the court. He has taken a harder line on Russia, but rarely has he distanced himself from Trump, as when he opposed Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore, who had been accused of sexual misconduct. So far, Pence hasn't left a noticeable stamp on the office, say experts.
I don't see him as being as distinguished or as impressive as most of the other vice presidents from either party.
Analysts note Pence did play a role in the withdrawal of federal troops amid disturbances in Portland after local officials said they were making matters worse. In public, always loyal to his boss, often standing in his shadow, it's not clear what impact Pence has had behind the scenes, or what difference he will make in the November election, which most analysts see as a referendum on Trump. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
In our tech report, the growing use of wealth technology platforms is signaling a wider investment culture among young Nigerians who are increasingly looking beyond traditional models of saving. Africa 54 tech reporter Paul Ndiho explains.
Nigeria's financial system is open to new transformations in the financial systems, especially the introduction of technology. Wealth management apps like Cowrywise, which allows users to automate savings in Naira, has become popular by offering savings and investment options with interest rates much lower than that of traditional banks. Razak Ahmed is the co-founder of Cowrywise.
The motivation behind the formation of Cowrywise actually stems from the need to democratize access to investment products in Nigeria. There are numbers that show that the level of investments awareness and the level of participation, especially from young people in investment product, is extremely low. And the reason for that low penetration is largely because of lack of access to those investment products or lack of understanding of how those investment products works. So those major problems are the problems Cowrywise is out to solve.
Launched in 2017, Cowrywise, a digital wealth management platform, enables access to affordable investment opportunities for everyone in the marketplace. It also helps users save money and enjoy high returns from risk-free investments in Nigeria with zero interest fees.
For example, just about 400,000 Nigerians have invested in mutual funds. And the mutual fund industry, as at 2-3 years ago, was just about $2 billion. And currently it's just about $3 billion, which means there's still a lot that needs to be done. So those indicators point to the fact that the market is extremely underpenetrated and the young people are extremely underserved when it comes to investment products.
While wealth tech platforms market themselves as available to all comers, their user base is mainly dominated by young professionals who are more tech-savvy and trusting of the internet.
It boils down to the fact that they are extremely young. That's first. Second, they are obsessed with using smartphones. So we have about 22 million smartphones in the country currently. And they also can't do without having access to the internet, right? So those three combinations make it extremely easy for us to develop our product in terms of distribution to target those set of people.
Cowrywise is partnering with the top investment houses such as Mary Steam and Afrivest to give Nigerians access to multiple mutual funds, all in one application. These mutual funds invest in companies and high-quality fixed income securities.
Banks have done a bit in terms of making banking services available. For example, there are about 40 million unique bank users in Nigeria, even though we still have another 40 million Nigerians who have never stepped into the banking hall. So there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of making financial products available to the mass market.
Analysts say Nigeria's saving market is rapidly increasing, and by leveraging technology, the wealth management industry could leapfrog legacy issues faced by the same industry in developed markets and possibly have a higher adoption rate than that witnessed in other markets, such as the United States or Europe. Paul Ndiho, VOA News.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thank you for watching.